We're coming up on 6 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Nick Kremp. I'm the conservation agent in the city here. You all should have turned off your devices already. So I will start with a roll call of commissioners present. Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Mike Seekey.
Aye.
Nick Venti.
Here.
Rich Gullick.
Here.
And absent are Jim Chambers, Steph Quinlan, and our chair, Chuck Raymond. But we have 4, and that makes a quorum, so I'll pass it off to the vice chair, Rich Gullick.
Thank you. And it is 6 p.m., as Nick said, on July 23rd, 2024.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, should get that on the record there. Is there anybody here who wants to comment anything or question anything to the commission that's not related to the agenda? You're all here for something on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to that. So the first thing is a new hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the expansion of a driveway in the wetland buffer zone. The address is 797 Union Street, map and parcel 556-5-3. The DEP file number is 199-1198, and this is an after-the-fact submission. Nick,
So
you want to tell us about it, or?
the property owner's here, so if you want to step up and introduce yourself, and
Sure.
yeah,
How's this work? Do I just...
you can just come on up and state your name and your address, and
Since it's an after-the-fact, I'd appreciate if you give us the brief background on how you got to the gentleman, and then introduce yourself.
Yeah.
sure. So I received a call from someone driving by stating that there was some activity in what might be a wetland buffer zone at 797 Union Street. So following that call, I went out an hour or two later. This was back in June, like mid-June, I can't remember the exact date. But it was mid-June, I got a call. I went out and met with the property owner, Andrew Schaefer here. And by that time, there was a paving crew on site, and they were just wrapping up their work after installing the driveway expansion along the eastern side of the existing driveway. I met with Andrew and explained to him that this is something that should have gone through a notice of intent process and getting the proper permitting before being done. I explained the process that we go through is just having him go through that NOI process after the fact and getting the requisite permits from the commission. So he's here to do that today, and if you want to introduce yourself and say your address and anything else that I might have missed there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andrew Schaefer, live at 797 Union Street. Been there about 12 years, coming up on 13. And I have the pleasure of living next to the wetlands and finding out all the fun things that may come along with it. So yeah, just went along with trying to do an expansion of the driveway. And when I contracted the paving company, they were taking care of all the permits and things like that. So naively assumed that meant wetlands approvals would also be part of that, or they would deny the permits and things like that, which was not the case. So
Were you aware that the wetlands were an issue?
I knew that the wetlands were there. I didn't know that they would be an issue with if I wasn't actually altering them. I didn't know about the buffer zone, 100 feet until after the fact. So I had inquired previously about a fence, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and at that time it was just kind of like if you were going to have equipment in the wetlands or be digging into the wetlands, then you need to get approval. So that was pretty much all the knowledge I had.
Okay. The law is more restrictive, but
Yeah.
we're not that tough. At least not
You
usually.
seem like a nice group.
Tell us that later.
So just as some supplemental information here, this is a document that Andrew had forwarded me from the paving company that he had received. So you can see this is a before picture showing the approximate area of the driveway to be installed. And yeah, we just have some before pictures here. But like I said, I was out on site as they were wrapping up. I was out there today with Rich. We took a look at the site, and as it is labeled here, it might be a little hard to read, but the driveway expansion is 14 feet wide off the side of the house and the side of the driveway, and it's 70 feet long, extending from the edge of the road to the back corner of the existing garage here.
Please describe the resource area that is of interest to the commission.
Yes, so you can see a little bit in this picture, it kind of dips down along the wood line here, and this is some DEP mapping layer that shows some wetlands. This is an approximate extent, because you can see it kind of goes up into the yard a little bit.
That's not exactly accurate. I would not think. I stood there and saw it today.
Right, yeah, it's pretty well
Slide that
defined.
line a little and squeeze that in a little bit,
Yeah.
I would say.
It's pretty well defined, so
Unless I misjudged the dimensions.
yeah, you can see here, right where this vehicle is parked here, this is the location of the new driveway, just a long rectangle extending off the side of the existing driveway in the garage. And there's about, at its closest extent, it's maybe 10 feet from the edge of the yard, which is, I'm treating as effectively the edge of the existing wetland here. So there's a large wooded, swampy area that kind of drains the rest of this neighborhood before going into a culvert and crossing under the street. But this is just kind of a large, swampy, wet area off the edge of the yard. So none of that was affected, just all existing lawn stuff that's been turned into driveway. So,
Questions from commissioners? Bob?
Yeah, Andrew, did you build the house that's presently there?
We did not, we're second owners. Yes.
Second owners?
Yep.
So I take it you didn't build the shed either?
The shed was on my doing, yes.
You did build the shed?
Yes.
so the shed is on top of, it sits on like a platform of some kind. It's not like, there's no foundation to it.
Right,
Is that
yeah.
correct? It's
Yeah.
like a movable shed, basically.
You definitely could move it if you had the means.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all I have. We don't have any definitive line for the buffer zone either. Is it just that overlay of the DP? I mean,
Yeah, that's we're assuming it would be the wetland area, it would be 100 feet from the buffer zone. So the driveway's totally in the buffer zone, not in the wetland zone.
Right.
Most of the house would be too, but that was.
Oh, the whole house is.
The whole house is, yes.
So, yeah,
Built a long time ago.
being on site, you can see a little bit in this photo. Yeah, in this photo, it dips down. There's a pretty well-defined edge where it dips down, and there's reeds and Joe Pye weed and other wetland plants that you can see off the edge of the yard. But the yard itself isn't squishy or wet at all. It's a pretty well-defined edge.
Yeah. I stopped by the other day, Andrew. Is that the general purposes that you built it? Was for automobiles and the tractor to be placed there?
Yeah, so the end goal is hopefully to have like a third garage bay put on, and then maybe an addition over top. So, yet to put any of those proposals in, but just trying to get, you know, some quotes and things like that to figure out what logistically it would take and financially. So, so until that time, we figured a driveway would be a good supplement to just put a car on to keep it out of the horseshoe, because it seems like a lot of space, but when you have a car like taking up any part of it, it kind of ruins the whole functionality. So,
You have
so
to go
yeah.
back out into the street and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
But no like oil changes or anything like that going on in the driveway or
Okay.
food truck or anything.
Decreases the permeable surface, obviously some, but well, no, there are gutters up top. Taking the
Yeah.
roof runoff away from that area at least, and out to the street, I presume,
Yes.
out the driveway. Mike, any questions?
No.
Nick?
Straightforward.
Is there any requirements to preserve some percentage of the area around the wetland as there are for rivers?
No, that's just with rivers.
It's just
riverfront.
river frontage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did reject the wildflower, 16 wildflower. We rejected a house that was 90% within the wetland buffer zone.
I recall.
Got appealed and
Yeah,
DEP
that's right.
overruled that with some modifications to the thing.
Now you-
Just FYI,
Yeah.
part of the precedent in our district.
Yeah. If the commission wanted to, we could permit paving the entire buffer zone. There's no laws restricting that specifically, as there is with the riverfront area. So.
And did you pre-dig footings for the possible third?
No.
No, just
No.
covered it over?
Yeah.
Scraped it down, covered it over?
Yep.
Do some pavement on that side of the house, I can see why. Okay, Nick, do you have anything else before I go to the audience?
No.
Is there anybody else who has any questions, comments about this particular hearing? Okay. I guess we'll look for a motion to close the public hearing portion of this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I can second that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Mike Seiki.
Aye.
Bob Secor.
Aye.
Nick Venti.
Aye.
And Rich Gullick.
Aye.
Okay.
Nick, what do you recommend?
So, seeing as it's a very minor project and it's an after the fact anyway, I don't think anyone here is wanting to have Andrew tear out the driveway to redo it or anything like that. So I would recommend that we approve this order of conditions for file number 199-1198.
And I would add, with no added special conditions, given it is already completed,
Yes.
right? So don't have to read 6 pages of that.
Correct. Yep.
Can we have them painted green?
I mean,
No.
Okay, look for a motion to that effect to approve this notice of intent.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Nick. A second. Thank you, Mike.
all right, I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Mike Seiki.
Aye.
Bob Secor.
Aye.
Nick Venti.
Aye.
And Rich Gullick.
Aye.
All right. I'll get that out to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
sir.
your time.
You're all set.
Yeah,
We'll hope
appreciate
that
it.
if you
Thank
plan
you.
more, please come back.
Definitely will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
We have no continued hearings tonight. Business got cleaned up last time. So we'll move on to enforcement items. The first one is Mechanic Street clearing, which has been discussed a few times here, parcel 372-3. And who are you, sir?
So Justin McClure, McCarty Engineering.
Justin McClear, McCarty.
Would you like to set that up in front of here, or?
If
Or I
you
can
have
just
it
bring it up,
online, you
yeah.
can just bring it up.
True,
That's,
I forgot that
I
Brian had
prefer-
sent it to me.
screens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much easier.
Plus, we don't have all the easels over there.
Oh, I brought my own, but last time I came here, this wasn't here. I'm gonna try to use this.
Nick, while you're doing that, how'd this one come to our attention?
So last August, I got a call from someone in DPW driving by the area and reported some tree clearing. They knew the river was down near that area, so I drove down. I found the tree. There was one person doing the work from the tree company. They were just wrapping up. They had a bunch of logs stacked on a truck, and the entire site, as it's cleared now, was already cleared by the time I got there.
Yeah, don't you need to get a little more time with you? You missed that paving too. You're
Yes.
joking with you.
Yes.
Jeez.
But it's
What a shame.
when people are calling me,
That's
when people are calling me and seeing it as they're driving by, that's usually how it ends up going. So.
I appreciate it. Sorry, go ahead.
So I went out there, I met with the guy, I told him, any other work that he needs to do, he has to stop right now. And he got me in touch with the property owner, which is Mr. Guido Antonio. And I've been working with Guido and his associate Abner out of Guido Dumpsters, and they've since hired McCarty Engineering to draw up some of these site plans, as the commission had requested that he either come forward with a restoration plan or an after-the-fact, partial notice of intent after the fact for any kind of building or anything he wanted to do out there. So they've been weighing their options, going back and forth, whether there's going to be a notice of intent or a restoration plan. But Brian Marchetti from McCarty called me yesterday and informed me that they are going to be submitting a restoration plan at today's meeting. So that is what Justin is here to present.
Okay.
So, like Nick said, we were working with the owners regarding like a small scale commercial development. During that time, the owners were reached out to by the city of Leominster with an interest to purchase the land. So with that in mind, they had asked us to stop the design that we were working on and work with Matt Merrow, who did the delineation as well, to come up with a restoration plan. Since
Who are
that,
they asked you, who are they?
the owners, Mr. Guido and Mr. Abner. So since then, the city's hired an appraiser to begin that process of potentially purchasing this piece of property. So in front of you tonight is the restoration plan that was done by Matt Merrill. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to review it yet. I'll give you some highlights of it. He's proposing a phase planting restoration. It would start with a meadow mix to reestablish the floor of the area in the riverfront that's been disturbed. And then from there, like I said, be a phase planting consisting of 28 blueberry shrubs and 40 trees. This would be a mix of red maples, northern red oak, river birch, and white pine, 8 of each, and each of them would be 1 inch in caliber. In it, he does have a schedule that he talks about, and just to highlight a couple of them. He's proposing that the work commence in August and is estimated to be completed and seeded by August 31st. And then from there, work would commence on the plantings of the trees and shrubs, which would begin at the beginning of September and be done approximately September 15th. Again, he has stipulations in here that the schedule is flexible to change depending on site weather conditions, things of that nature. So in total, there's about 50,655 square feet that was estimated to be disturbed as part of the tree cutting, and that's what's being proposed to be restored based on that planting plan.
Any idea of the cost of that restoration plan, not counting Matt's fees, but the actual planting and everything?
Not off the top of my head. That would all depend on, I think, really the costs of the shrubs and the trees.
Put those in.
But I wouldn't be
Parts and
able.
labor.
Yeah, if I had to weigh it, it's probably more a cost for the material than it would be for the labor. The labor would probably be a couple guys to spread the seed, spread the loam. They would remove any fill. Based on his site assessment, there's no fill on the site, but just to get it back to a more natural.
There's a berm of fill on the right side as you walk into the site.
Yeah, so from whatever was left over as part of the tree cutting process, but there was no structural material brought in to raise that site. So that would be the intent, level it back out, loam and seed, have that established, get a solid base of growth back in the riverfront area, and then plant the trees and shrubs to help that prosper more.
Okay. My first question relates to whether we know what the city is going to do with it. I want to ensure that if this is going to be done, that it is worth it, and that we get something for this restoration, because it's already growing back
Yes.
on its own. So you're going to cut down, people are going to go in and cut down what's there, right? Plant
So
grass. I
from
mean,
what's
it's a field now, basically.
yeah, so it
It's
would
not
be
bare dirt, guys, if you haven't seen it recently.
so that would get cut down and reestablished again with the meadow mix. You'd have a healthier growth back in, because right now it's going back naturally, but it's not. It's probably not the most healthy thing
Yeah.
because of the way that the soil was pretty much ripped apart as part of the
Right.
tree cutting. So the whole idea of this is to get that base established, something that's healthy, something that'll stay, something that will not have potential invasives in it. Where it's been barren, there's the risk of invasives being able to come in much easier.
I think it could be managed potentially.
Yeah,
Just
and-
try to watch out for costs on people.
It-
So what is the city's plan then? We want to make sure this coordinates, and you didn't mention coordinating with this, what the city wants to do. So we don't have it done and have them come in and take down a quarter of it, because they're gonna put in a boat launch or
No,
something.
no, no,
Whatever
so,
they're doing. Just trying to be practical for your
No,
client.
I'm not privy to the full details.
That will
My,
allow us to ask Nick and our representative from the city if you want it.
Yeah, so,
Add anything, you guys?
So I did speak with Mayor Mazzarella this afternoon
Excellent.
regarding the plans for this site. So there is an appraisal ongoing right now. The appraiser was waiting on some additional information from like building department, things like that, to suss out a few final details. But the plan, as far as the mayor is concerned, he would like to see the city purchase this land eventually, but that would only be for recreational / conservation purposes. So there's no buildings or anything planned on site. As Rich had mentioned, there's a possibility of a boat launch potentially going in there later on down the line, but there's no immediate plans for anything like that. And of course, the city would have to apply for a notice of intent through this commission for any alterations to the bank. So that is the plan. I don't believe the restoration plan as it's been presented is gonna be any issue or cause like work to be done that's gonna later be removed because of what the city is planning on doing. And on that sequence of events, I think it would be best for us to require the current property owner to see this restoration through and do at least a partial repair of what they've done. So they cut down, a secondary forest, but a relatively mature secondary forest, so you're not gonna ever get it back right to where it was within the next couple of years. But I do think it's worth it to get some tree plantings, some shrub plantings in there, as was stated, to just help keep out some invasives. I can say from being there today with Rich, there's a good amount of Japanese knotweed and other invasives that are starting to pop up there, and that's gonna, be exacerbated by the open nature of the area with all the trees being cut down. So
Plus the runoff from the bank.
yes, yeah.
That's
So
pretty steep.
So this is about 100 feet of woods away from the riverbank, correct?
approximately, yep.
Approximately.
From the rivers.
Less than that.
Excuse me?
It's less than that.
You think? Okay.
Well, we can measure it.
Yeah, if you would.
So I did bring this, pretty much this.
Can you do us a favor and turn it around so Johannes, you want to get a shot of this for the audience at home?
So
And
this
then
is,
we'll bring it here.
this is the same plan that Nick had brought up, just a larger view. The shorter line here is the inner riparian that's 100 feet from the bank.
Justin, you can show Commissioner Sakard now. He's got it in the back.
Perfect.
I think he got a good view of it.
All right. So here's your 100-foot inner riparian. Here's your 200 outer riparian. You can see based on a survey, the limit of clearing comes inside the 100 riparian a little bit, stays in, and then comes back out to Nashua
About
Street.
65 there,
Yeah.
I'd say, maybe.
Just to give you guys a better
Yeah.
idea of what we're looking at for clearing.
Thank you.
I'm still interested in knowing more. I'd rather, personally would rather have the city decide what they're gonna do before we order the restoration, but that may not be the whole commission's thought. So let's hear from some of the commissioners.
Well, I don't think it's a bad
Questions,
idea
thoughts?
to get some wildflower seed in that wildflower mix in there.
Mhm.
If the owner isn't objecting to the cost, it's only gonna help, it's not gonna hurt.
So we went through Mr. Barrow's restoration plan. We didn't find anything outrageous with it. The owner also got a copy of it. He didn't come back with anything that he seemed to not be in favor for. I think
What
there's
do they
also,
have to do to be able to put the grass seed in? What's the preparation of this? Given that I'm seeing a field now, and they're gonna basically rip that out,
so,
I'm wondering how.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about the ripping it out.
Yeah, because they've got to get rid of what's there to plant new stuff, so they can expose.
Can't you just
the
overseed
soil.
it?
I think if you did overseed it, it just wouldn't take as well. Again, with the Japanese knotweed, with the invasives there, with how barren it's been. I know it's growing back in, but it wouldn't, I just want to emphasize that. The way that he's proposing it gives you a much better and longer lasting forest base
Base, yeah.
than what, if you just went out there and threw
Cast
seed
seeds.
on what was there.
Right.
Obviously, with this, there would be straw wattle silt fence laid out down gradient of this. During the phase process of the plantings, you would have sections, straw wattle silt fence to control the runoff. So I would just want to emphasize that it is much better at this point if the commission wants to see this restored and restored the right way
Mhm.
to start from scratch.
Okay.
That'd be the biggest thing.
That kind of leads into my thought or question, Justin. Being kind of in limbo, I think because of what may happen with the city or what's going on, my main concern would be, after the work's done, who's going to maintain it? You know, is it, because it's in limbo, no attention's gonna be given and trees are gonna die and everything's just gonna go, you know, that's only my concern.
No, and that's fair.
Who would be responsible for taking care of it?
In no way, shape, or form, I have any idea of what the dealings would be. My guess in what I would think may happen would be, it would have to be established prior to the city taking it.
No.
That's just, again, I'm not involved in any of those dealings, but I would think the city would not want to be responsible for a partial, complete restoration.
So I believe that would be a city council question when it
Yeah.
comes to buying this finally. But I work pretty closely with some members of the council, and I just spoke with Pete Angelini this afternoon. I just happened to run into him in the mayor's office, and we spoke about this a little bit. So some councilors are already aware of this situation, and I would just, we don't have an authority over city council, but as for my role, I would recommend to them that we hold off on purchasing that until a year hence, or whatever timeline the commission kind of decides on for the restoration plan, to just ensure that everything has been established as much as possible anyway.
And I just want to add, in the restoration plan, Mr. Merrill did know, like, one big benchmark would be prior to the plantings, the commission to come out, see how it looks, based on, I don't want to say regrading, but just having everything established, ready for plantings, have the commission come out and make sure that you guys are satisfied with what's being done, what's going to be planted, things like that. And of course, with any restoration, it would be observed to make sure that everything is taking hold, germinizing, doing what it needs to do to have a hold and not die off. And that is mentioned in Mr. Merrill's.
Is there, in his report, I didn't read it.
So,
Will he replant anything that happens to not survive the initial planting, or is that in the plan for, to Rich's point, to maintain it as it's going, or Bob's point?
I believe it would be maintained as going through, because again, he does have this page. Cited previous section involved, the work would be done, make sure that's established prior to having the plants and shrubs planted, but he does have one sentence in here. I'll just read it verbatim. Prior to the final planting of the restoration area, I recommend the area be viewed by a member of the Conservation Commission to ensure satisfaction with any modified area for conformity with reestablished elevations. So he is, and I'm assuming at that time, if there was something that was deemed insufficient to the commission, it would be addressed prior to establishing the plantings.
Okay. Following up on a comment of Nick's a moment ago, he was recommending that the city not buy the property for some certain period of time until that has all been settled and reviewed. I would not necessarily make that recommendation. Property price can go up as we wait longer. Might cost the city more in the end. How much would the city care about how well that's maintained? Would they take it over? I think there's other options there.
Yeah, and I think at that point, you start getting into the dealings of city council, purchaser, legal counsel, And then as well as the owner's legal representation and all that at that
To me,
time.
that's potentially a reason to not do the restoration, is you add in all these other obstacles to the purchase. As opposed to, here it is, buy it, let it grow. Because it's there's two purposes there. One, I mean, it depends if we look at what we're looking for here. I'm not worried about erosion off of there. That's not a concern to me right now. It's a, growing field. And then there's 65, 200 feet or more, right, until the river. So that doesn't get me. Where it's reestablishing the biodiversity and basically the environment that's there, I think that's what's the concern here.
And to add, excuse me. and to
It's
add-
not a wetland, we're not replacing a wetland, it's a buffer area.
It's a resource area under the riverfront.
Yes.
And that's where this gets,
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. It just, when reading
It's technically not a
WPA,
buffer zone, that's correct, it's riverfront area.
yeah, and it, much different than the previous hearing you just had,
With a
where,
buffer between the river and here.
yeah, yes. So I think, like you said, reestablishing the natural way that was, also removing and limiting any more invasive growth into the site. And regarding,
Were these the type plants that were there before? What Matt has proposed, Matt Morrow?
yes, I believe what he's proposing is your native plantings to the area and Matt's.
Similar to what's near there. you're
Yes,
suggesting.
yeah, it's not something that's completely non-native. With your restoration plans, you're usually going towards native species, which is why he picked these out with those quantities established.
Right.
In regards to the runoff, I would say it's not open barren dirt, but it's not as stable as having the shrubs, the trees,
Sure.
the hefty growth back in there.
I don't
So-
think that dirt's moving to the river. That would be my,
No, and
as a transport specialist.
yes, I,
Just not getting there.
as much as we love to say that too, obviously with the rain events, the more
Is this-
intense.
Well, we
Is
can't
this
count last September, then it doesn't.
That doesn't count.
Doesn't
Is this-
count.
It happened though.
It did happen. Is this in a floodplain? Is the restoration area in a floodplain?
So, part of it is, so the floodplain line is where the flood zone A11 is. This dark
So
dotted
for
line
100-year
here.
flood or 500?
I believe they gave me a note for that. I think, elevation, no. And I don't want to say one or the other. Flood zone A11. I'd have to go look at the permit to verify which one that is.
So we're
But-
just at the edges, so.
But we're just at, the limit of clearing is at the edge of the floodplain.
So it's not inconceivable that this area gets wet?
No,
It could.
it could potentially
The
get
river-
wet.
The river might, yeah.
Yeah, and there is wetland delineated closer to the line of clearing, especially near the far end of the parcel you can see here. Kind of bumps out from the river. The
Yeah.
river line is right here.
Other questions for Mr. McClear, from commissioners?
To me, the concern is that, so one, that you don't want bare soil there. I mean, especially if we're close to a flood zone.
Don't believe there is much.
No.
Well, I'm just.
A little bit of that berm on the right.
Yeah, but it is.
So you want it covered.
Yeah.
Certainly want it covered. And I think my concern, if you put these plants in there, is that they'll just be sort of crowded out by knotweed and Oriental bittersweet, and maintenance is.
and-
my
Anyway.
concern.
Okay.
Well, we will need to be maintained.
And,
The new plantings will need to be maintained.
and again, during the process, it is noted that any invasives encountered will be removed and disposed of properly.
For how long?
I
What does it say in
would,
the plan? We would want that on the record. We need a time limit in this
It's-
plan before I would vote to approve it, if I would, that says how long the maintenance will be done for. Either in
And I-
terms of, an extra growing season or X amount of time, but something, we always need a time limit.
I think, yeah, if these plantings are just put in and left left there, I think they'll be overgrown.
No, and I typically with order of conditions, a lot of towns and municipalities require
It's like a 2-year,
anyway.
yeah, 2
Yeah.
growing seasons.
So,
Okay.
and that's, to my knowledge, that's standard practice of restoration. So I would
Is
expect,
that written?
There is a,
I don't believe
If
you
not, I think
noted.
we'd want to see that.
Yeah, and I think if it's not.
there is an implicit
There-
maintenance.
It stated a status report will be submitted October 30th, 2024, June
Yeah.
30th, 2025, and October 30th, 2025. But that only takes us out to a year.
Takes another year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that's at the very bottom of his schedule of
And we've
proposed
seen that
events.
similar schedule on others.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Is there anybody here captivated in the audience in this hearing who has anything to add to this? Since you're all here, might as well chat. Okay. Fair enough. Other thoughts, questions?
There is a flowing brook on the south side of it too, right? We don't want to forget that either.
Yes, so I can bring that back up.
and that takes
It's drainage from the
pretty much
highway.
all 190.
Yeah, so Bob's referring to this right here? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That small stream there, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe there's just up above, there's a manhole and a giant pipe that discharges that highway drainage.
Right around here,
Yes, yep, right there, where you had your cursor.
right there.
Yep,
But it does flow into the river.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yep, that naturally goes down to, back to the river.
Is that in the siltation fence area, or are we gonna? Yeah, that's what it looks like, okay. Yep.
Yeah, there's a bit of a berm. You can see it slightly here with the contour lines where it kind of raises up between the area that was cleared and this. So it slopes down to the river. It doesn't really. The majority of the site flows down directly towards the river, not into here. And there's quite a bit of trees and shrubs kind of along this side of the stream that have been left in place.
Yeah, and the erosion control would be established along the limits of what's been cleared.
Yeah.
And that would be your, again, that'd be straw wall, silt fence.
So again, as of now, this goes through the year from this October in terms of maintenance reporting.
Yep.
That's all. So if somebody wants more, don't vote for that, in its current form at least. Well, you've heard my opinions and some others. Nick, what are you thinking?
So this broadly, the restoration plan seems pretty acceptable to me. What I'm thinking we will end up doing, or what I would recommend that we do here, is accept either the restoration plan as it's been accepted or presented tonight, or possibly continue to the next meeting if there's any remaining questions on that. And then following the acceptance of that, I would issue an enforcement order, which is basically like a permit for them to do this work in the riverfront area and all that. And just with an order of conditions, an enforcement order can carry conditions with it that would include the points that they present in the restoration plan. So like the monitoring dates and the status follow-ups and all that.
There might be an advantage to having the other three commissioners here for their opinions.
Yeah.
I'm not leaning toward it at the moment, so.
Right.
Everybody else.
Yeah. So
So what are you recommending we do?
So I'd recommend at this time that we continue this matter until the next meeting, which I will be requesting later on in this agenda that we move the first August meeting to August 6th. So that's only 2 weeks from today, as opposed to the 3 weeks that it would normally be.
Okay, do either of you commissioners object to delaying this decision, or do you want to vote tonight? You don't mind waiting? Bob?
Just that, August is a week away, but I certainly wouldn't go against Nick. I mean, if we were
Yeah.
into it, no big deal. I mean,
Yeah. And it's, like you said, if you were starting the very beginning of August, which our meeting will be on the 6th, the plan would be to finish that planting or the shrub plantings and things by the end of August, and then start the tree plantings
Yeah, and-
sometime in September,
And
so,
I would,
It's a better time too.
yeah.
and I'd say based on a schedule, yes, obviously depending on how the next meeting would go, would dictate that.
Right.
Because the time to get the enforcement order, be able to order everything kind of,
Yeah.
not that I'm saying make a decision tonight, it's just want
Sure.
to make the commission aware, the more this goes, the tighter that window gets, and we might have to wait, because we might be beyond that
Planting
good,
date.
that good planting season. That's the only concern. The commission's questions?
Meeting August 8th, I don't think we're in that season yet.
No, and I just,
We still got a plan.
Yeah.
I would love to hear at the next meeting, in terms of does the city really want this plan? And does the city, are they gonna hesitate to buy the property because of the legal requirements within that plan? Would that affect the purchase? Would it make the cost higher? And so I'm trying to look at the big picture there. There'll be a different chair running the next meeting. It may not be as soft as me on this plan. So who knows where but that's my take.
If I
Yes.
can just add to that.
Please, Wendy,
too,
yes, thank you.
The Wendy Weeks, I'm the grants administrator for the city. We will also know more about the appraisal
Yes.
by that time at the next meeting. So that'll give us a little bit more idea on where the city's gonna go in terms of how we buy the property. You know, it depends, the cost depends on how we buy it. If we have to get a larger grant, or if we can get some money somewhere else, you know, it depends on the cost. So, by the next meeting, we will have had that information.
Yeah, and I will speak to both the mayor and the person doing the appraisal before that August 6th meeting, just to hammer out any other of those
Excellent.
questions, like if we go forward with this restoration plan and it's a year from now, is that gonna affect the city's plans? Is that gonna affect the appraisal?
Well, let's learn more about before
Yeah.
we step in and lock things in.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, the other consideration, if I could, is there used to be a chain that went across the road there. Is that still in place? I didn't see it the last time I was down there. 'Cause what my concern would be is I see a lot of kids coming out of there at night, and if you go ahead and you start to establish this, they're gonna be in spinning donuts and ruining it for you, so you
Yeah.
probably should lock it up.
yeah,
There's something across there.
I believe there is,
A little stronger than the road.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
Okay.
Guido would
Cable,
add.
I'm sorry,
but-
there's a cable.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
thank
the
you.
cable.
It's been a helpful discussion. We've taken quite a bit of time on it, so I want to thank you for your time. We will continue this. I do not believe we need a vote.
No, we don't need a
continue it.
vote to continue.
So we will simply hold it till the next meeting.
Yeah,
Any
just-
last thoughts?
Last thought, overall, is the commission's feeling with the restoration plan satisfactory, no major changes? Because obviously, if you guys had a major change, we'd like to be able to address it at the next meeting, but my feeling is, overall.
It's reasonable.
It's reasonable.
I'd like to see a little bit more explicit maintenance
Yeah.
in the plan, but
No, and
that's all, yeah.
that's what I'd like to be able to come back to you with at the next meeting, web saying,
Yeah.
this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is when we
Yep.
do it. I'd be able to provide a little bit more detail.
I still question how necessary it is.
Okay.
I could get outvoted. That's
All right.
I like getting outvoted. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next
Thank
item.
you.
So we get out before the band comes.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you.
The next one is 51 Howard Street, clearing and fill at 51 Howard Street. How did we hear about this and what's the deal? And then,
So basically, I got a call from someone that lives around there, reporting some unpermitted tree clearing and possible filling of wetlands. They gave me the address of the micro welding shop at 51 Howard Street.
how long ago was this?
This was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I went out there with our code enforcement officer, Luke Bolak, because there were, in addition to the conservation issues, there were some other zoning issues going on with that site. So we both went out there, paid the owner, Mr. Steve Berube, a visit, and spoke with him about some of the filling. I referenced some of the city GIS maps and saw that the activity was going on what is currently Leominster Land Trust property. And having walked around the Leominster Land Trust property, adjacent to the site, I did see that there is some wet areas, specifically kind of east of the site here, putting this work into the buffer zone. So I met with Steve Beirub, told him what the deal was, that he's been encroaching on Leominster Land Trust property in addition to encroaching into the buffer zone with some unpermitted work. And I issued him a violation notice for the tree clearing and for the filling, because after visiting the site, it was clear to see that there was several feet of fill brought in throughout this area of the parcel to kind of raise up the level and even this out, to be able to store vehicles and things. So in the violation notice I issued, I asked Mr. Beirub to remove all the temporary structures and materials, vehicles from this parcel out of there, and to await removing any fill or any other extensive work like that until following this meeting, the commission can hammer out more of a detailed plan of what y'all would like to see from here. So
Okay.
I paid Mr. Beirub another visit today with our Vice Chair Rich here, and he has since removed all of the materials and everything, even this small structure that you can see on the map. He has scooted forward onto this parcel, so he's complied with everything I've requested so far, and he's followed up and come to the meeting to discuss the final plans for this area. So
Nick, would you
What-
just zoom out a little bit so I can give
Would
my
you like to hear from the owner first, or the land trust? The property that's been affected.
I'd leave that up to you. I'm not, either one is good, as they're both here
Your
to,
choice.
yeah, people from the land trust and
You wanna go
Steve are here
first?
to
You go
both.
first.
Steve Barabee, owner of Leominster Micro.
Say that again, please.
Steve Barabee,
Bear
owner of Leominster Micro Welding.
Thank you.
Farabee, excuse me for mispronouncing. your
That's
name.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was on that property. My father's owned that since '73, and I bought it from him. And then when it was brought to my attention, so I'm gonna do anything I need to do to make it right.
Okay.
Maybe just a little more detail. Steve, when about would you say that you started to
Oh, that was a while.
build out
probably
onto here? Several years?
2017.
2017?
Yeah, something like that, or
creeping
5,
in.
6, 7 years ago.
You've been
Pre-COVID,
creeping,
yeah.
so to
Yeah,
speak.
yes,
Pre-
definitely.
Creeping into the other property.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can,
Tell us about the resource area that we are concerned with. We are not specifically interested because of land, going onto somebody else's property, because that's not necessarily our jurisdiction, but we can't control things within the wetland buffers and so on. So what are we protecting here?
so like I said, there is a low wet spot that I would describe as a wooded swamp right here, that slowly meanders and eventually drains into an intermittent stream, which you can see a little bit here in this
There's
dark
one
spot.
There's a drainage pipe in the woods there too.
There's a drainage pipe that drains some of the neighborhoods west of here that you can see outletting right here. There's a small rise in the lands before you get to the wooded swamp and that intermittent stream over on this side. So we're basically worried about the buffer zone for this wet area, which is down in the other. This is also a Leominster Land Trust parcel right here.
Can you show where there's some areas of the fill that are loose dirt recently put in? Can you kind of show where that is?
So that was more or less right here. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you had stated today that following the flooding in September, you got a lot of washout, a lot of gravel and
Yep.
things, which we could see kind of piled up on the low side over here. Following that, you brought in some fresh fill.
Correct.
That you can see kind of in this southern portion here.
Look like clean dirt.
Yeah,
It's definitely all been clean.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the rest of the ground surface where it's been cleared, guys, is basically small stones
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
surface, so.
So
Okay.
Just the reason why I didn't think it was an issue, because like that section where you see, is it 6856 350-8?
Yep. right here?
Well, I had bought that probably around 2014,
Mhm.
and I had taken out a bunch of trees, and somebody from conservation came to me, and, because somebody seen me filling it, and he said that section was okay, as long as it was clean, so I didn't think there was any issue.
Right. So just speaking on that point real quick, this is a aerial image from 2014.
Yeah.
So obviously that was taken before
Yeah.
the clearing, and this is the Leominster Land Trust
Mhm.
parcel in question here. You can see it's wooded up to 2014 at least. And in 2019, start to see the encroachment. And then this was taken
Good
this
job,
spring.
good job, Nick. Very nice, very
Yeah.
illustrative for us.
So basically, yeah, so that's.
Any questions for Mr. Baruch before we hear from the Land Trust?
I appreciate your honesty and coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's just sit back down and we'll, gentlemen,
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening.
please tell us who you are and.
My name's Jim Moriarty. I'm the attorney for the Leominster Land Trust. And then we have Mike Mahan and Dick O'Brien's in the audience, but he's a directors of the Land Trust as well.
Okay, your name again, sir?
My name is Mike Mahan, M-A-H-A-N.
M-A-H-A-N, Mike. And so you're part of the trust, you're the attorney. And then, of course, Mr. Dick O'Brien here.
Jim's the attorney. I'm the
Right.
interim director.
Yeah, Jim Moriarty is the attorney.
Yeah.
And Mr. O'Brien is served on this,
Mhm.
okay. So, what are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Well,
Mr.
I'm
Moriarty?
kind of surprised. Nick, do you mind going back to the picture you had in 2014? Yeah, I mean, so that's what it looked like. It's been a land trust for a long, long time. I mean, I think 20 years.
Mhm.
And so that's what it looked like in 2014, and just go to the picture now, if you would, Nick. Yeah, I mean, that's, it's kind of shocking a little bit, honestly. But is the structure gone now that you have
It's
this?
moved forward off, it's onto my
Yeah.
property.
Totally on your property?
Yeah, all that.
Might be
All that was cleared.
touching yours a little bit.
Yeah, you should make sure it's.
They have to survey, but mostly it's
Yeah,
been.
no, I hear
done.
you.
I emailed
mean,
some
You
pictures
have
to
different
Nick
interests, I
today.
know. If something's on our property outside the wetland, you're not involved.
Oh,
I
no, I'm
understand.
saying, I'm just telling you that our impression today is it might still be a tad on your property.
Yeah,
But he did a good job moving it to where he did.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
I just
yeah.
kinda, I just kinda went by the photo the satellite photo he gave me, kinda guesstimating, and went a little further than I thought it might be.
Yeah. So here's an image that Steve had sent me from today. Here's the building in its current position. It's a little hard to tell, but you can see this large tree right here. The trunk of it is approximately right here. The building was right up against it. And you can see this is that same tree.
Yeah.
So the building has been moved forward quite a bit, so.
What about, so a lot of the cars and
All the
what,
vehicles,
Yep.
everything's gone.
Everything's gone?
Everything's
the
gone.
fill's all gone?
Not the
Phil is
fill
still
yet.
there. We asked him to leave that in place until we're able to hammer out a final kind of plan with the commission here. We don't want any more disturbance than is already
Okay.
occurred, so.
Yeah, I guess
That
from
makes
our
sense,
point
yeah.
of view is, I don't know if there's anything commission do. It's unfortunate that it seems like it was pretty heavily treed,
Mhm.
and those trees have all been removed,
Mhm.
so, I mean, that's.
You just heard the last one from Mechanic Street. We can't ask things to be redone the way they are, if it's in the interest of the commission, and in this case, the property owner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking generally now, right? I mean, there's a statute, like, you could triple damage this removal of trees in your property. It's a Leominster Land Trust, we're not gonna get adversarial like that, okay?
Mhm.
But I guess I'm only bringing that point up, is just anything the commission would do for some restoration,
Mhm.
I'm not expecting it to be.
Right.
I speak from Land Trust, we're not expecting it to be treed like it was in 2014, it's
Exactly.
cost prohibitive,
Right.
but we
Takes
would
time.
like some, I guess, a reasonable amount of restoration work done there to remedy what's been done.
Nick, how much is that whole lot in the buffer zone in our jurisdiction? Doesn't seem to me it is.
So there's a wet area along this property line, so probably a few feet, I'd estimate, past this property line that flows roughly eastward from here. So I wouldn't say the entire lot is within the buffer zone, but it is, I think a simple ask would be to remove the fill from the adjacent parcel. Because that would be, all the alteration that is affecting the buffer is taking place in that parcel. If he brings it back to its previous state, then we can say, it's basically the same as if nothing had
Sure,
happened. This is
sure.
where it was before.
I just didn't want us commenting on something that isn't really in our jurisdiction. It's
Right.
the land trust, and, obviously, there's a violation, but.
I think the owner wants to take care of it all.
Yeah, he sounds
I
like.
got that impression.
Yes.
Steve wants to, if we stop 5 feet short of the border, he's still going to the border.
Right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's a practical
Yeah, I mean,
sense here.
kind of having a cup of coffee and shooting the breeze a little, so just, all the cars, the shed, everything is
All
off
that's
the
been
land,
moved,
obviously.
yeah.
Yep.
And then-
I
You want
just
the
need some
fill
time to
taken
get my
out?
backhoe down
Pardon?
there and start.
Do you want the fill
Fixing
taken
it.
out, for example? Have you seen what's
Well-
there specifically?
I haven't, have you, Mike?
I have.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, there's that one section of dirt, if you're walking back on the right side, that's a bit of an erosion concern, that one.
I mean, I think the most important thing is, if I could ask through the chair, to find a balance between, really, really going crazy and, clearing the whole thing and rebuilding it.
I think that's what everyone's looking for, the balance.
To,
Something we-
yeah, like it's,
I agree.
like we appreciate
We
what
don't wanna put 'em out
Mr.
of
Barabee,
business.
and
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
absolutely not.
Just trying to make a living. I guess my answer to your question, you want the fill taken out, would be, does the commission think that that would be an appropriate thing to do in connection with restoration efforts? And then throw it back at you.
Do you want to comment on that? In terms of that loose dirt?
I think particularly in where we're certainly within the buffer zone, the northern half of this alteration, I would recommend that we seek the removal of that fill. And I just remind everyone that even though our jurisdiction is wetlands and including the buffer zone 100 feet outside of that, if there are alterations outside of the buffer, which can be found to be affecting our resources that are in our jurisdiction,
Yeah.
we can still kind of reach out and touch those cases and say this needs to be corrected. So again, just to make the whole thing simpler, I would recommend that we ask Mr. Berube to get a restoration plan drafted by whatever contractor of his choice to remove the fill, propose some native plantings, maybe a native seed mix and things like that, similar to what we just talked about at Mechanic Street.
Perhaps not as extensive as that one was, but to keep that balance.
I just,
Give me 1 second, Dick. I would love for them to coordinate with these guys.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So it comes
No
in
problem.
and we come in with a plan together, if that's possible. So-
no, it's definitely
definitely
possible.
possible.
We're gonna probably have a conversation, but I would be like, for us, we don't wanna go out and hire an engineer to
You don't need to.
evaluate the restoration plan. I would, so I guess what I'm saying is, certainly amenable to talking to Mr. Barabee about anything, but the long and short of it is ultimately, we would defer the guidance of the Conservation Commission, what they thought about the restoration plan,
Okay.
if it was inadequate.
Nick, any thoughts on that? I often wait for one to be proposed as opposed to.
Interjection, it's a much smaller scope, but you just did that with the, then you did that, you exercised your discretion about what kind of a restoration plan would be sufficient for the, and so, the same thing here on a much smaller scale.
Mr. O'Brien wanted to add something.
And I'm in an awkward position right here. I am a member of the Land Trust. I was a founding member of the Land
Way
Trust.
back when.
Been associated for a long time. I actually didn't come to this meeting as a result of this issue. I came to hear the discussion on work ongoing on the
Deer Street.
new
Yes.
conservation
Yeah,
area.
okay, great. We'll
But
get to that
seeing
soon
this,
now.
Having worked for statewide land trust for most of my career, if this were happening in that organization and it were my geographic area, my boss would immediately say to me, how did it get to this point? How did it get this far, this violation, get this far without the land trust raising a hand and saying, whoa, wait a minute. So Jim, I'm just asking, what role is the land trust willing to play in sort of paying for some of the restoration of this, because they basically did not do their job in monitoring and taking care of their properties?
Well,
I can
and that's
express
a-
a brief opinion on
yeah,
that.
I'll answer that question, Dick. Absolutely none. The reason for that
None
would
what?
be,
None what?
No sharing the expenses.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I'm kind of, I won't say I'm personally offended by the question, I'm pretty shocked by it. The Leominster Land Trust is really a small group of people. There's land all over the place. All these people who are involved in the land trust, where it is now as opposed to when Dick was involved, aren't professional environmentalists. The board of directors and all the members, they're not professional environmentalist staff as they were back then. They're people who run other businesses and they have an interest in the environment, and they've kind of kept the land trust going to do that. And the other thing I would add is that any kind of land trust, if you own land parcels all over the place, especially in this day and age, you certainly don't have the staff to go out and inspect and patrol the various parcels you own. And that's certainly the case with the Leominster Land Trust. So I would say that, I'm continuing to answer your question, luckily we have a landowner who realizes that, yeah, unknowingly, I went in and I developed and changed the contour and the environment of land I didn't own, but I did it unknowingly. Now I know it, and I'm willing to remedy what I
Right.
did.
We go,
Luckily, we're in that situation.
we go through that almost every meeting, it feels like,
Yeah.
as you can see from Bob's face, as to how often somebody didn't know about the law.
Yeah.
I would admit perhaps signage might benefit the land trusts,
Yeah.
that this is our property, but beyond that, I wouldn't have expected much.
Yeah.
Well, so
Any
let me
last comment
just
on that,
add,
Dick?
calling ourselves a land trust, we have a certain responsibility and obligation. There are a set of national standards that help govern and control the activities of land trusts. One of them is the need to annually inspect the properties once a year, to go out and see that the property is still in its natural state.
Hasn't burnt down.
And I'm saying, as a member of the land trust, I feel like we fell down on that role.
I think that is something for you to bring up with the land trust
Yes.
as opposed to the commission here. We do deal with these after the facts regularly, as you saw with the driveway and so on.
Yeah, without preaching, as the attorney for the land trust, I emphatically agree with your statement.
Emphatically.
Emphatically agree with your
Okay,
statement.
I hear that every day.
Mr. Chair, if I could, we're going on and appreciate
Yeah.
Dick's experience, but we're going off on a different tangent.
Yeah.
We have a remedy here already, and, that's another issue, but, and don't disagree with you, it's not, none of my business, but we've got a situation here where the landowner really wants to comply and fill it in. My personal opinion is there I didn't get out into the back lot there to see, I go by there every day, but I didn't get out in the back lot to see the extent of the fill and stuff in there. Costs a lot of money to get the fill out of there. Is it totally unrealistic to do a restoration plan given the contours as they are today, would it satisfy everybody? Make it as easy as possible, and Mr. Barrowby wants to do the right thing. Make it as easy on you to have it restored, have it somewhat restored so it's back. Now everybody knows where the property lines are, and we can,
It would help if you, sir, and Nick went out and looked together, perhaps.
Oh, anytime,
Peru.
I'm there every
And say,
day.
well, what about this? Because all that dirt you got on the right side, well, maybe that gets used to cover up a lot of the gravel. Or you move the gravel, now you use that, and you use that to seed into. You might, take parts from one part to another, and how much do you really need it brought back? So it's up to you. You guys want it back the exact way it is, we can't do that, but we're not trying to get to exact. So I think we gotta,
we don't want to crucify,
Yeah.
I think we,
crucify the gentleman. My suggestion would be that obviously be continued for the submission of a restoration plan, but perhaps we could meet out the site with Mr. Berube and Nick and kind of go over the parameters when.
Yeah, we can come up with
Work it out
something,
as
present it to them, that'd be great.
Pardon?
by commissioners. And work
Oh,
up a
yeah, I didn't want to
practical
impose on your
compromise
time.
plan would be great. Love to hear it back at the next meeting. Let's consider this enforcement discussion continued
Yeah, I
to
don't
the
think you're
next
gonna have time for
meeting.
the next
Can we,
meeting.
can we
Sure,
continue
later.
to
I'll be out of town on the 6th.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just
Well,
real,
that's no excuse.
Go
real
ahead,
quick,
Nick.
before we wrap up, just in the interest of consistency, what I would typically recommend here is that the applicant or the violator, whatever the case is, be responsible for drafting and presenting a restoration plan, a written out plan for us. If you working together can draft a plan on your own that we can find to be acceptable, then that would be fine. I can provide you with some contractors who can also do that work for you if you choose to do that. It'd be a little bit more, tightened up than what you can do on your own.
That's your option.
Yeah, so I would just recommend that we ask Mr. Berube to come back before us at the next meeting.
2 meetings from now. He's not here August 6th.
Oh, yes, okay, so at the second meeting in August, which would be the 27th of August, ask Mr. Berube to come back at that time with a drafted restoration plan that he's discussed with Mike and Jim.
Sounds good.
That's acceptable to everyone, and then they can present that at the next meeting, and if we find it acceptable, then
2
we'll
meetings
accept
from
that.
now, August 27th.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question,
Yes.
Nick, not to impose on you, but
Yeah.
is it possible for you, so whoever Mr. Barrowby, retains to do this plan, it might be helpful to get the input of the Conservation Commission agent as to what would be normally expected in this type of plan, given the circumstance.
Right.
Is that possible, or?
Yeah.
Oh, he can go out with him, I could go out, Mike.
Oh, okay,
might be
okay,
interested
all right.
in going out.
Yeah,
We won't
just,
ignore it.
the main
Bob gets out to all these. Bob, question? Before we move
Well,
on.
I'm just thinking about the whole project and like the conversation going on, but thinking back a couple meetings ago where we had another violation and the DEP imposed a fence which would delineate, further encroachment, something of a barrier.
I already spoke with Nick
Yep,
about that,
he
once we
did
figure out
mention
where the
that.
line is,
Mm-hmm.
because I had fenced the property in years ago, and what I could afford at the time, and now that I know where it is, once this is all done, I'm gonna put up a fence, and there'll be no doubt where it is.
Okay, well, the
Whatever,
land
if I could
trust,
have
I
it
think, would
within a certain, whatever the.
would appreciate that for further encroachment. And even
Yeah.
put a sign, could come up with a sign,
Yeah.
flood wetlands.
Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
No, nothing.
Okay, I think you good for now?
I'm good for now, yes.
Excellent, glad to hear it. Everybody good? All right,
We're good.
let's move on to the next one.
worry,
Thank you,
we have-
guys.
Thank you.
Something.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very
That
much.
works.
I'll be in touch with you, and we'll work together on getting that plan together.
Yeah, and I'll have these guys come down.
See you
and
back
figure it out.
August 27th.
Figure it out.
Thank you all.
Excellent, thank you, Steve.
Our next one,
Thank you, Mike, thank
under
you.
enforcement, is 188 Central Street retaining wall collapse. This is where the CVS is on Central Street. It's quite a sight if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
Really? So I would like to point out, just to start, Nick will give us some background, but this came from the September 13th, was it?
11th.
September 11th storm, and nothing has been done about it yet, apparently. This whole retaining wall that came down, and then it's taken away land, it's taken away driveway, it has undercut part of the house. Actually, I mean, there are actually supports to their little balcony steps that are just hanging in the air. So my concern is whatever delayed this, whether it was FEMA money or people applying to FEMA, this should not have happened. This should have been moved, and I've spoken to Nick about that, it should have been moved on much faster before this neighbor's property, his house is undercut, which is what we've seen happen, because it keeps happening worse and worse now, it has expanded. After that little concept, Nick, I pass it to you.
Yes, so as was stated, this occurred because of the September flooding. I had visited the neighboring property at 210 Central Street shortly after the flooding, maybe a week or two after, where I did observe this had already started eroding away. As you can see here, this green line represents a culvert which crosses at the U-Haul on the other side of Central Street, crosses under Central Street, and then lets out here. This outfall, it's a large box culvert that's surrounded by a retaining wall that runs along the bottom of the parking lot and used to wrap around this side of the property line prior to the flooding.
Had that to direct the water back off to the left as it's coming down and away from the house. That whole wall came down.
Yeah.
So now it is eaten away under the driveway and under the house.
So this retaining wall and everything around this outfall was constructed based off of the permitting for the construction of the CVS here. It looked like from historical photos there used to be some multiple industrial buildings or whatever out here. Regardless, they built the CVS in the early 2000s, built out this parking lot and the associated retaining walls. So those were all part of an approved site plan that had to come before the commission. And even though CVS obviously didn't create the flooding conditions back in September, that did affect their retaining wall, which has remained unrepaired since then. So I had considered this a private property to private property issue where the neighbor here at 210, his first name is Massey, I had met with him and he had been discussing plans with CVS. Apparently they had worked together over the last couple of years. CVS would occasionally do repairs per Massey anyway. They would do repairs to the fence or other small things along the property line over time in the past. But since this has happened, he's basically lost contact with the people at CVS over the last few months. Which led him to reaching out to other officials at the city once more, including myself, the code enforcement officer, and the building inspector. So we all went out there last week to have a site visit and observe the conditions on there, get updates from Massey, where I learned that he hasn't been able to make contact with CVS. So
He can't walk out that exit.
no, yeah, he said
Basically condemned.
his son's car used to be parked out here, and it actually got swept away during the flood. He's got some pretty dramatic video of the car basically being driven down the stream from the water. So that was pretty theatrical and amazing. But ever since then, nothing has been done, and it continues to erode away here. So it's an ongoing alteration as a result of the flood, but it has changed the retaining wall, and because of that damage to the retaining wall, it continues to worsen the erosion and the situation out there. So I would like to issue a violation notice to CVS to compel them to have someone come to a meeting and eventually present a plan to repair this wall.
I would like to remove the word eventually
Yes, so
and put in something immediately. This
yes,
needs to be done now.
yes, as soon as possible.
Is it CVS or is it a development company that builds for them?
So I had gotten in touch with a maintenance company who had done work for this property in the past. They still do work for CVS, but this is out of their region. So I got in touch with some maintenance people. He gave me a contact at CVS, a Mr. Ryan Fogarty, who I had sent an email out to. I have since then, I sent the email Wednesday or Thursday, and I still haven't gotten a response back from them. So I've called the store and spoken to corporate there, put in a report with CVS, but I still haven't been able to make like a person-to-person contact, which I continue to work on. But as soon as possible, I'd like to get in touch with someone at CVS, have a representative come to the next meeting, or as soon as
I
possible.
would like to see us be out there with CVS before the next meeting.
Okay.
And I do not accept that as quick enough. Now that I have seen it, had I seen it in October, I'd be saying the same thing.
Okay. So I will, as soon as I make contact with someone at CVS who can tell me about this specific property and approve work on that property, I will have them arrange a meeting with us so that we can, whoever is available for whatever time we decide on, we can go out to the parking lot, go out to 210 Central Street, and start conversation on that.
Are you gonna do the violation notice right away, or?
As soon as I can
Find somebody.
find someone to send it to, I'm gonna be sending them a violation notice, yes,
Well,
yeah.
you can
So
also walk it down to the store manager.
That's true. So,
Is,
I will do that by the end of, I
No
will,
delays.
I will do that by the end of this week, regardless of who I can make contact
Thank you,
with.
and please
Yes.
check back with me and let me know you have. Yes, sir.
if you look at GIS, it'll give you a book and page number for, obviously, the registry of deeds. Find out if CVS owns that, or if a development company owns it and leases it to CVS, which clouds, can cloud the issue. CVS just goes, oh, it's not on my property.
Right.
Months before you get to somebody.
It is, it's owned by this 188 Central Realty LLC, but they are based out of Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
At CVS.
At 1 CVS Drive, so it's CVS. Yeah. So it's a company that's not CVS, but CVS basically
And that's
controls
who,
this.
that's the
this
name you got
LLC.
in contacted there or at CVS?
I had called the store directly and they connected me to a corporate number, so. I will be reaching back out to the manager and going through those channels.
And what's the violation specifically?
So the violation would be
Trespass.
sedimentation, erosion due to the structural failure and failure to repair the retaining wall.
And the wall was originally part of was a permit.
Yeah, because the wall was a part of an approved site plan and it's no longer functioning as was approved, so that's a,
Erosion elsewhere based on failure of your, and
Yes.
that's within the Wetlands Protection Act?
yes. So if someone's violating a condition of an order or not following the approved site plans, it's not their fault that this happened, but it's their fault that it continues to not be repaired. They're the only people that can repair
Yeah.
that wall.
Needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not a city culvert, that is a CVS privately held.
It's
The
unfortunate.
wall is CVS.
The wall.
Yeah, I will add to that, yeah, it's unfortunate that it becomes theirs, because it looks like infrastructure right there. To
Right.
keep that water flowing, but as it crosses through their property, it becomes theirs, I guess.
Yeah. And the wall it runs along the property line, but the wall was entirely on CVS property.
So Nick, you are gonna go ahead and issue a violation?
Mm-hmm. I will do that by the end of
Everybody
this
good with
week, whether or not I can make contact with a specific
You don't need a
person.
vote, do you?
No.
Nobody objects?
No, I think as soon as you do it, you'll start to get action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping that email might spur somebody, but I don't know if he never got it.
I'll
or
go
if it's
down to
different
CVS
person.
with you tomorrow if you want, and knock on the door. Sure.
All right.
They really gotta go look at it. You guys should see this if you haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Oh, they're
Okay,
aware of
your
it.
jaw will drop, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm
And in
not
addition,
surprised, I'm wondering if there are more sites like this that we haven't come across, and, I'm sure there are.
Wiped out from September.
And-
Okay.
because in addition, just one last thing, in addition to the damage to this retaining wall, the pattern of the flow is coming in, bouncing off of this side of the bank, and being redirected into the other retaining wall. So
Yeah.
you can see there's some serious slump going on there,
Yeah.
and quite a bit of erosion right up to the edge of the lot.
It's only
When the
getting
parking lot
worse.
starts to collapse.
It's a
you can't get
danger,
cars in
yeah.
there, they'll-
Every rain, it gets worse.
They used to have tape out there, there's no caution tape or anything, so it's a serious issue.
It's surprising to me that, I always thought that was uphill, like the hospital goes uphill, you'd think the water would flow the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on because we got a band concert coming up.
Yeah.
Get noisy. So the next thing is an extension request. We're gonna make it real quick for the Newsnack Brook Stabilization Project, DEP file number 199-1129.
Yes.
And we have with us from the city of Leominster,
Wendy Weeks, the grant administrator. We're requesting an extension of the order of conditions from Newsnock Brook on the, it runs along Manning Ave over there, 2017. We had a collapse of that wall. Ever since, we've been trying to get money and permit the project. So we're asking for an extension of the order of conditions. We got a grant. It's a $6.6 million grant.
Wow.
The
Good job.
city matches it 10%, and we already have the match. So
Wonderful.
it's on its way, probably go out to bid over the winter, and then it's an 18-month construction.
you're applauding the grant administrator herself.
Yes.
No,
I
the
was.
grant,
There you
no,
go.
team effort, team effort.
Take the credit for the team. That's impressive. Does anybody have any objections?
Sounds like a slam dunk to me.
Yeah.
Let's take okay, I'd like a motion to give this 3-year extension on this project.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. A second?
I'll do it, okay.
Mike got the
I will.
second.
I'll
Please
second.
take a vote.
Okay, I'll take the commissioner's vote by roll call. Mike Siki.
Yes.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Yes.
Nick Venti.
Aye.
And Richard Gulick.
Aye.
All right, extension, we need a date to extend this to, because it's an extension request.
18 months.
Th-
You said it's
I thought the mayor
18.
requested 3 more years. Is that wrong?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That was in the letter.
I mean, it's gonna be, so
Let's
we have to
give it 3
bid it
years.
over the winter, and then it's 18 months, so.
So we'll do
Let's-
3 years
let's
past
do
the
this 3
existing.
years
It won't
past
take
the,
that
because he got 3 years originally, you get another 3 years, we're good to go.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
So-
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry it took so long to get to it.
Oh, no, it's fine. This is interesting.
And, yeah, if you want to stick around for a second, Wendy, about the next item,
Sure.
possibly?
The
So is
land,
that an 18-month extension or a 36?
3-year.
3 year from the existing expiration date.
Okay,
Yes,
so 36 then?
yes,
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
correct.
Is that 18, estimated 18 months of work once they
Okay,
get started.
18 months of work, okay.
Yep. Starting in half a year or something, then there'll be delays, and give it
Yeah,
3
yeah.
years, so they'll come back again. Conservation management, first item is the land grant application for 27 acres off of Pleasant Street. I believe Wendy Weeks is again going to
That's me.
speak to us, the grant
Yes.
administrator for the city.
So we have an opportunity to buy the land behind 982 Pleasant Street, which is adjacent to other city property, and especially Sholin Farms.
So I have it up on the screen
Yeah,
here.
it's a good piece of property. We were going to apply for the land grant, but we couldn't get the appraisal and everything in order. The timing wasn't right on that. But we are going to apply for another grant for it, so we just wanted to let the commission know.
Perfect.
that-
Is that all
So-
solar?
This has
Yeah.
been,
Yeah, so.
if it hasn't been subdivided, or
Yes.
it will be?
Yep,
Okay.
so 14 acres, sort of diagonal, has been carved out for solar,
Yeah.
leaving,
I believe I have a thing on here.
leaving 27
Yeah.
acres left to buy.
Oh, okay.
So here you
Yeah.
can see the solar farm is in the yellow right here, and the remainder of the lot in orange is what we would be purchasing. So,
Is any more,
Yeah,
any
lots
more
of
clearing
items.
gotta go for that access road for the solar, or is that done?
I believe it's done.
yeah,
Because they got the easement in there, I didn't
Yeah.
know if they could.
yeah. No, that's all in place.
It's in place.
Yep.
Has been there for a little while now.
Yeah, it has. I just saw the easement on the plan.
Yeah.
And this is on our agenda just to let us know.
Just to let you know, we initially was on the agenda because we were going to be applying for it soon, but that's since been delayed, so I just wanted to give an update.
And when we apply for these grants, it requires conservation sign-off.
Right.
So when we decide to apply, when the next grant comes out, probably in the fall, I'll come back and ask for
Thank you for
all
the
of
good
to-
communication on that.
Thank you.
Apparently, we have an audience member who would like to speak. Mr. O'Brien, what do you
I
have to
just,
say?
in case you all don't know, this has been a priority project for some time. And the reason why is you see that little triangle right there? That has been or was a trail connection from Sholin Farm to the schools. And when it was sold in the solar farm, that was eliminated, and so there's been no real trail connection.
And you
This-
want to put in a new trail.
Yeah.
I want to make that connection
He's excited,
back
I
to
can't
Shoal
tell.
Farm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is, even if all we got was that little triangle, it would be,
That'd be big.
you know, wonderful,
for
but
them.
this is even better, so
So that
I
was,
just wanted to make sure you all understood the significance of acquiring that piece.
Absolutely.
connector trail for part of the city's wonderful network of trails.
Yes.
That's nice. Okay, thank you for letting us know.
All right, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
The next is the Pierce Street Trailhead work. Wendy, you might be interested in this one too, I will say, but, because it is city property now. I did watch the meeting that I missed on video and went through that whole section. I found the discussion interesting. I appreciated the questions about hunting being allowed on inner city parks. And would encourage, if I had a vote on it, I would say to go and see if we can change that. I won't fight it up in the hills. I just gotta wear orange and talk, but for the city ones, I don't see why we would allow hunting in those, in Barrett Park in this one. So, but it's something I think that has to go to the city council,
Right, yeah.
so I would appreciate it if you would draft up or something to move that along. Because it seemed a consensus out of the meeting, at least Mr. O'Brien spoke to that as an audience member. Other than that, I didn't really have many comments on the, what's allowed and what's not allowed. Just make it very clear that leashes are required on the dogs, please.
Yes.
I've been through that one. But yeah, so what do you want to tell us about the trailhead work now? Nick?
Basically, so you all were aware of the small parking area that we had to put in per the conditions of the grant.
DPW did a really nice good job on that.
They did, for what it is, they did a very nice job, but it's completely insufficient for especially a conservation land of this size. So
Okay.
you could fit maybe 3 cars there, and they'd have to back out at this like blind corner.
But
There's a hill
they'll
right
get to
here.
more later.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. They have started clearing out additional land there. They've cut a number of trees and they've started to kind of level that out in the area just past the existing parking. And once they're finished with that, leveling it all out, they're gonna put some grindings down like they did with the smaller portion that they have done, level that all out, and instead of the large stones that you might have seen placed at the back end of the existing lot, they're going to install a swinging gate at the back of that lot to keep unauthorized vehicles out, but then also allow for quick access for emergency vehicles and the like. So
Okay.
they've started clearing that lot. They should be done shortly. I was told it would probably be about a day's work or so, but they started work Thursday of last week. So they've run into some sort of delays, just taken slightly longer than they planned. But once they finish expanding that parking area, it'll be available for multiple cars and volunteers to come in and start doing some trail work. So
Trail stewards can get their cars there and do their work.
yes, so I made contact with Neil Wine and Jeff Ardinger, gave them a quick update about this. They're both very enthusiastic and excited about the progress of that, and they informed me that they're planning a Day of Caring event on September 20th, is it, Dick?
Where, it is Friday, September 20th.
Yes.
We have agreed to host one,
Yes.
but you all need to approve that.
Mhm.
Really?
Well,
It's,
you own the land.
it's work, yeah, it's
You-
conservation
you-
management, so.
What we're proposing to do is the trail that we hike, the old Woods Road that goes from the new developing parking area down literally to the edge of the pond, that's a no-brainer. It won't take a lot of work, but if we hold this day of caring, we can complete clearing and clean up of that trail, blaze it, and have it usable by the public, I think in that one day.
Nice.
So I'm sort of here asking permission. We went ahead and listed it because the sign up for these events started today. If you approve it, then nothing has to happen. If you don't want the day of caring, then we can just take that event off
So
the
this is
list.
one of the after-the-fact things we keep coming up with.
Well, I mean, that's United Ways.
Mhm.
The timing here is just
Yep.
works so that, it's.
Are horses gonna be allowed here, or was it too small? There was
I don't
something
think
brought up at
there's-
the last meeting.
Is really enough trail potential here
Mhm.
to
And the connecting trails.
allow horse
Nick, was
use.
that gonna be in the,
But there's
not
a,
allowed
there's
in
a
the
parking,
signs? Was that
available for the
clear?
horse trailers
I
now.
believe-
Okay, give me a
That's
second,
the
guys.
trouble. Yeah, it won't be.
I believe we just agreed to blanket accept the activities that that are on the current kind of
Sign.
standard sign that we have, which includes horseback riding.
Oh, it does, I thought it was excluded.
I can't
I
remember
thought so,
explicitly
too.
that
I
votes.
think it's excluded.
Okay,
Yeah.
I may be misremembering that, but
Please check and let us
I
know
will.
next time.
I will.
Okay, on your
Um,
action item list there.
Yes.
Okay,
There's a
so
lot of
is-
connecting trails out there, it'd be a wonderful spot for those.
do we need an official approval of this, or we just nod our heads for
I'm
Mr.
just-
O'Brien? or-
I'm just letting you all know, giving you an official update. This is a kind of a more detailed kind of proposed trail map for y'all to reference here, but there's going to be that Day of Caring event on September 20th, and if they finish sooner, I would like to organize even maybe a smaller volunteer day ahead of that, if we find it appropriate, to maybe get some commissioners out there, any trail stewards that are available, and any members of the public that might be interested to come out and just start kind of clearing trails. These red lines are existing cart paths.
I would
Yeah.
recommend leaving that up to the leadership of the trail stewards as to when to get out and do that. They seem to have this one day planned for you. Say if we get out, they've got many things on their agenda list for trails.
Go.
No.
Yeah.
So, I certainly, as a commissioner's, chairman's prerogative to say, go ahead, do your the day of caring day.
Yeah, no, that's
Right.
terrific.
So what's this, a
We don't
vernal
need to
pool
vote.
over here that we're looking at?
It's not certified, but it's a potential vernal pool right there.
Okay, thank you for the update on that.
So I'll be providing updates as we get closer there, and then hopefully y'all will be able to come out on the 20th, and maybe any other days that are needed.
Do we need to explicitly authorize that?
Once we get there, when we get a little closer, I can add it to an agenda, we can authorize.
I just kind of authorized it as chair, to chair's prerogative, and so then go ahead.
There you
and
go.
do.
Yeah, I
Day of
mean,
caring, because we want to let them know now. If you want to vote,
I was just-
say so. Do you want to vote?
it
Because
would be
otherwise
good
it's
to
approved.
vote simply because
Sure, let's
it
vote.
is now up on the United Way website
I'd like
as
to,
an event and activity.
thank you, Deb.
Yeah, let's have a vote.
So it's
I'd-
officially,
I'd-
okay.
I'd like to
Officially,
entertain a
authorize.
motion from one of the commissioners, please,
I'll make the motion to,
to
second
allow,
What's the motion? Yeah, what's the motion?
time out, to allow
The day of
the
caring.
Day of Caring to be held at the Pierce Street property as organized by the trail stewards and the Red Cross.
Conservation Commission.
No, well, it's as organized by the trail stewards.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
tentatively
making a
proposed
motion?
for the 20th of September.
Right.
I'll so move to,
Thank you for that.
Make that motion.
And we have a second? Michael?
I'll make a second.
Thank you.
Yes.
Second.
So,
Get the vote.
commissioners vote by roll call, Mike Seeke,
Aye.
Bob Seacard, Nick Venti,
Aye.
and Rich Cullick.
Aye.
All right.
There you go, you got your approval. Thank you very much.
We'll see you out there on the 20th.
Nick, if you hang on a minute, I got questions for you right after this, separately. If you would, we're gonna get through this real quick. We're moving on to meeting minutes. I have looked at them, I think Mike did.
I looked at them all too.
When you did, there was no big changes. I'd love a motion to approve the March 12th, 2024 minutes as edited on the drive.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Commissioners vote by roll call, Mike Seeke.
Aye.
Bob Seacard. Nick Venti.
Aye.
Rich Cullick.
All right.
All right, so approved.
I'd like a motion to approve the May 14th meeting minutes, May 14th, 2024, as edited on the shared drive.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Nick.
Commissioners vote by roll, Mike Seeke.
Aye.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Nick Venti.
Aye.
Rich Cullick.
Aye. I'd like to Entertain a motion to approve the June 11th, 2024 meeting minutes as edited on the share drive.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mike.
I can second that.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Mike Seekey.
Aye.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Nick Venti.
Aye.
And Rich Geller.
Aye. I missed by 1 minute. I swear. Next item is commissioners' comments. I have reviewed,
Well, we have the meeting date change.
I'm coming to that.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
That's okay. Commissioners' comments related to the special order conditions. A lot of it repeats Wetlands Protection Act rules, so I think there's some we could thin. I recommend, Nick, you and I sit down in a work session with Chuck and go through it. I think that's the way to condense two a day. Our next two meetings, we're going to meet on August 6th instead of the 13th. So it'll be the first Tuesday instead of the second Tuesday in August. Then we'll meet on August 27th. That filing deadline is August 9th at noon. And with that, any other questions, comments from commissioners?
Where is that posted, the change? Is that on our website? or-
What change?
The change of the meeting from
So,
13th to the 6th.
so our normal dates are just are on the website as the second and fourth Tuesday, but we have to announce, 5 days out from whatever the meeting is. So I'll just appropriately advertise that 5 days out from whatever the meeting is.
And what about the filing deadline?
The filing deadline would it would be the same. It would be 18 days out from the meeting date.
And that's already passed.
It's already, yeah.
Yeah. So
So maybe a short meeting.
yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to announce the change in the filing deadline.
No, just the date. We just have to advertise the date of the meeting 5 days out.
Since it's
So
different,
okay.
please advertise it ASAP, meeting this week, right? Since it's coming up. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Could I add one more question?
Absolutely, sorry, Mike.
The two gentlemen that came in that were looking for the
hunting.
the tree stands, dedicated tree stands, are they coming back in?
I don't have any immediate plans to.
We haven't allowed them to do that, right?
No, we never made any allowance, but it's not gonna happen. So I haven't followed up with them, but there's no desire from the commission side, as far as I could tell, to
Okay.
allow that, and the trails stewards aren't.
Didn't like
gonna
the
be-
precedent.
so, yeah.
Huh?
We didn't like the precedent.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's an awful precedent.
Yeah, okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. Second?
I'll second
Thank you,
it.
Mike.
All right, I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Mike Seekey,
Aye.
Bob Seacard,
Aye.
Nick Venti,
Aye.
and Rich Miller.
Aye.